When 58-year-old Jack Nicklaus thrilled us by finishing tied for sixth in the 1998 Masters, despite severe pain triggered by a degenerative left hip, he was visibly disappointed that he hadn't gotten the job done. Now he's got a new hip, and we suspect that the competitive fire has not been cooled. Hint: he's not planning to play a major schedule just to see if he can make the cut. Jack plays to win, or he doesn't play. Meet the player against whom all other players are measured, now on Golf Talk Live. Following is an encore presentation of Golf Talk Live. The two greatest players of all time are Bobby Jones and Jack Nicklaus. When Jones became the second American after Benjamin Franklin to be made a freeman or citizen of the borough of St. Andrews, Scotland, he said that if he could only have the experiences in golf that he had had at St. Andrews, he would have had a very rich, full, and satisfying life in golf. It should be noted that at St. Andrews, Jones successfully defended the British Open in 1927, won the British Amateur in his Grand Slam year of 1930, was devastating in Walker Cup play there, and was welcomed as a hero when he returned for a casual round before the 1936 Olympics in Hitler's Berlin. If Jack Nicklaus had only his experiences at Augusta National during Masters Week as his golf career, he still would be one of the greatest players in golf's 600-year history. Jack made it happen when we didn't like him because he was crowding Arnie's space. Jack won when we respected him and began to like him. Jack won when he looked like a movie star and we had fallen in love with him. Jack won before the greens were frightening, and Jack won when the greens demanded the sensitivity of a safecracker. He won the first time when grinding out pars was the key to success. He won by smashing scoring records with an unprecedented combination of power, judgment, and finesse. He won when a playoff was required to identify the champion. He won when no one else wanted it badly enough. He won when the supporting cast of characters wanted it just as badly. He won when we were hoping for fairy tales. He reminded us of Hogan at the '53 British Open as he improved his score every day and gave the clear impression of being capable of shooting whatever was required to win, just as he always has, and just as in our mind's eye and in our daydreams, he always will.
Welcome to Golf Talk Live. I'm Peter Kessler. It is a great pleasure to introduce you to the greatest player in the history of the game, and perhaps just as important, one of the greatest sportsmen who ever played any game, Jack Nicklaus. Great to see you again.
Thanks, Peter. Appreciate that.
How extraordinary a gift is it, with your new hip and setting aside golf for the moment, to be able to rediscover the joys of getting your life back, the simple pleasures of your life?
Well, I'm not quite there yet, but I did my hip for quality of life issues, and I haven't hurt since then. I can do things now. I can go out and walk, and I can go do other things. I'm not quite back to being able to hit a golf ball full yet. I've played the last 4 days, and I can't exactly say that it's calling much about, I wouldn't call it much playing, but I have played, and I'm sort of semi-bunnying the ball around the golf course, but I need to get back into it and start thinking about it. And it's pain-free, it's fun, and a little frustrating, I suppose, at times. But it's nice to see it moving in that direction.
What scores did you bunt it around in?
Well, I played 9 holes at Loxahatchee and shot 38. Played 9 holes at Seminole and shot 38. Then I played 18 at Lost Tree yesterday and shot 38, 37. And I played 9 at Loxahatchee this morning and shot 39. I'm a good solid 4.
That's a good place to start.
I'm a good solid 4.
There's every reason to think you will improve. And pain-free, right?
Yeah, I don't hurt.
You know, it's so rare when something exceeds our wildest expectations, but most people, when they go to Augusta National for the first time, despite the fact that they've watched every single shot on television that's ever been shown, it always seems to exceed one's wildest and greatest expectations. What was your reaction the first time?
At Augusta?
At Augusta.
Well, I don't really know. I was 19 years old. It really hasn't changed, Peter. I mean, I think when you drive through the gates, go down Magnolia Lane, the thrill for me last year was just as great a thrill as it was in 1959, the first time I went down them. I mean, it's something that you don't expect to see. You have your expectations of what you think you're going to see, and it exceeds them. And to walk into or to drive in or walk in, whatever you do at Augusta National, into the area, see the clubhouse, see the grounds, see the perfection at Augusta National. It's pretty mind-boggling, and particularly for a 19-year-old. And when that can still impress you as a 59-year-old, I think that must be a pretty special place.
In the early 60s, you could almost argue at any major tournament, and including, of course, the Masters, that may have been the golden age of golf in the sense of having the most players from the most generations with a real chance to win. I think of you playing with Hogan in '60 at the Open, and of course he hit those first 34 greens and could have won, and he said, you should have won. And in '63, when you won your first Masters, Snead, Sam, was leading with 3 holes to play, and look who was there. Nelson, Hogan, Snead, you, Arnie, Gary, Tony Lima, Burroughs, Casper. Unbelievable, and unlike an old-timers game at baseball where the 35-year-olds play before the 25-year-olds, everybody has a chance to win.
That's right. In '66, I played the last round with Hogan. So, I mean, you just continue right on through. And it's an amazing place. I think that you can count an awful lot for experience at Augusta. But you also can count an awful lot for strength and youth. I mean, one almost counteracts the other. And in other words, Tiger, what he did a couple of years ago was youth, pure youth. O'Meara, what he did last year was pure experience. And you put the two of them together, and they compete very well at Augusta. There's not many places that they do compete well against each other.
You've said that the Masters is your favorite tournament, but that you would rank it as the least important major. How do you reconcile those two thoughts in your head?
Well, I mean, as a tournament, it's always been my favorite tournament to go play in. It's always been the start of the golfing year. It's always been great fun. But I think that if you look at what Jones really wanted the Masters to be, and he says it's not a championship, it's a tournament. And he says the winners of the championship come play in the Masters. So in other words, you qualify to play in the Masters by how you've played in the championships of the U.S. Open, the British Open, and the PGA Championship. And so by his admission and by his intentions, they wanted that to be an event that was a tournament that that rewarded the championships. And it grew into the significance of being a major championship. So, it's not that I consider it less important than any other event. Quite to the contrary. But do I think that Jones's wishes should be honored? And I think that was Jones's wishes.
When Jones did his incredible instructional series for Warner Brothers in the early 30s, which I think has not yet been surpassed, he called it How I Play Golf. When you wrote one of your early books, you called it Golf My Way. Both of those are fairly modest titles in the sense that neither of you thought to say how to play golf, but rather here's how I do it. Did you recognize that in his title, and did you, in a direct way, imitate and therefore flatter him with yours?
Didn't know his title, to be very honest with you. My title came because I didn't think that if I was going to talk about playing golf and how I play golf, I wasn't trying to tell somebody how to play golf. I was trying to let them make their own determination of how to play golf and tell you how I played golf. This is the way I did it. Now you can take from that what you want. If it can help you, if you pick something out of it that really makes your game better, terrific. But this is how I do it. And I didn't really know Bobby Jones's title. So mine was, I guess, in many ways came from Ken Bowden. Ken was probably the one who picked that title.
We will take a very short break, and we'll be right back with Jack Nicklaus right after this.
I don't know why Mr. Sneed after drive. I don't know why Mr. Sneed after drive. Well, there will be one perfect day. Well, I see trouble all in my way. I don't know why, but I will know why.
Your lifelong friend and teacher, Jack Grout, before he passed away, sent you a beautiful letter talking about not only a conversation that you had just had on the telephone, but referencing you were being voted Player of the Century. And he made the comment inside the letter that he thought it was much more important that you be a great sportsman as opposed to a great player. What did that compliment mean to you when, of course, he was saying that he thought that you were every bit the sportsman that you were a player?
Well, I think Jack was a wonderful guy. I mean, he was like another father to me, Peter. And Jack was always felt as though the game of golf was obviously a gift to me, and that he was enhancing that gift. I always felt like, Jack Grout always said that he came along at the right time to have a pupil like Jack Nicklaus, and I said I always came along at the right time to have a teacher like Jack Grout. But anyway, our relationship was one that we'd go to the practice tee, and we maybe talked about golf 1 out of 10 times on the practice tee. We just enjoyed each other's company. And we talked about sports all the time. And we talked about how to handle yourself and how to behave and how to do that. So I think Jack was really saying that he was, I think, more proud of me of the way I handled myself than necessarily the way I played golf. He took my golf for granted. It was the other part that he was really pleased to have been part of.
When Bobby Jones made the comment about your game as opposed to your sportsmanship after you set the record in 1965, and he said what's now a famous line, Jack Nicklaus plays a game with which I'm not familiar. Well, my reaction's always been he was exactly familiar, that he was, in his time, the longest hitter of the golf ball, the best iron player, the best thinker, the best putter, and the same things that you were in your time. Did you believe that he meant it exactly as it came out, or did you think it's just one of those nice things that you say?
Well, I think that it was a nice thing that he said. But I think that what he meant was that I had taken Augusta National to the next level. In other words, the 64 that I shot in the third round, I hardly played more than a wedge all day long. I don't remember what my clubs were, but maybe I may have played 4 and 5 irons to maybe the par 5s and 9 irons to wedges on the rest of the holes. And that was a game on that golf course which he felt he was not familiar with. And it's the same thing that I'm sure that what Tiger did to that golf course 2 years ago was, again, a game that both of us were not familiar with. So as times and eras change, yes, we both understand what we did in our time, but times change and people get better. And certainly what Tiger did was not the same golf course that I played, nor it's not the golf course I played was not the same golf course Jones played. But he tore apart a golf course that was far more difficult than the one I set my record on.
When people compare you and Jones, it's difficult to do for a lot of obvious reasons. He retired at the age of 28. The majors were different for him. The competition wasn't as deep. He didn't have as quite a glare of spotlight on him, even though it was fairly intense for Jones at the time. Would you agree, in summary, that Jones did the most over the briefest period of time, and that you did the most over the greatest period of time?
Well, I think it's very difficult to probably compare any golfers or many athletes, particularly of different eras. In Jones's time, that was what you did. Now, Bobby Jones, in those days, I mean, I think he played 5 tournaments in 1930. That's all he played. And I guess he won the other one too. But he really didn't have a lot else to play in or to prove himself. And I think that he probably, because he didn't have that much more, the pressure on each of those events was so magnified beyond what we have today, to where his was all concentrated into one year. I mean, obviously he won a lot of tournaments over a period of time, but mine was concentrated, as you say, over a lot of years. And I never really got to the position of finding out if I happened to have won that 3rd event, what would have happened at the 4th. And so I never really had all that big of a problem as I went through it. Yes, mine was over a much greater period of time. I think Jones was probably a greater golfer over a shorter period of time and far more dominating than I was. But I was obviously dominating for a longer period of time over far more golfers. And but how do you compare them? I mean, I can't. I mean, Hogan was dominating for a very short period of time again over more golfers than Jones, but less golfers than I played against. So I mean, how do you compare them? I mean, Jones would have been a champion when I played, and I think I probably would have been champions when Jones played. Would we have beaten each other? Who knows? What a nice problem to never be able to solve.
That 5th tournament that he won that year was at Augusta Country Club, which, for people who don't know, of course, borders Augusta National. He had an 18-shot lead with 3 holes to play, and there's a delay on the 16th tee, and he sits down with Ty Cobb and has a chat. He gets back up after a long delay and goes double, single, and wins by 13 shots, and Ty Cobb never stopped screaming at him for not concentrating the last 3 holes. He only won
I didn't know that.
by 13 shots, and Jones later said, the best golf I played in 1930 was right over there at Augusta Country Club.
Is that right?
We'll be right back. Don't go. Wait, before we go, we've got some shots from the '63 Masters. Just took some quick hits and misses. Let me get your thoughts as we take a look. How was this swing, Jack?
Well, it was a little quicker and a little bit more powerful than the one I'm used to right now.
How much slower were the greens then, Jack, than they are today?
Not even a comparison. I mean, the greens then were, I suppose if you had a step meter, they probably would have been 8, 9, I suppose, on the step meter at most.
Here's your first tee shot last round.
Had to be a hook. I always said it left there when I didn't. That was before they had trees.
Did you not complete your backswing on that one?
Oh, I don't know what I did. Probably not. Let's see. What's that hole there?
Great bogey putt on 12 in the final round.
Well, obviously I wasn't very happy with it.
Yeah, it was from 10 feet. It was a good 4.
Now, that one I was happy with it. I've holed some putts on 16 that, why they happened on that hole, I don't know, but I've certainly holed a few putts there.
Now here's the one to win. It's just a little shorter than the length that you would, as a kid, dream this one's for the Masters when you're practicing.
Yeah, and look at the throwing of the hat. I think I was contemplating what was I going to throw when I did it. It was absolutely, totally non. It just happened, but it wasn't something that I was trying to figure. Gee, I got to do something.
We'll be right back before he hits Doug Sanders with his putter. Don't go away.
Okay.
When you won the Masters for the 2nd time in '65, when you set the record, you beat your buddies Gary and Arnold by 9 shots. You also beat Gary by 9 shots on the par 3s and Arnold by 10 shots on the par 3s. Do you think people generally appreciate that maybe your biggest secret, and not so secret to you, advantage may have been your superiority on the par 3 holes?
Well, I've never felt that my driving has been the whole key to my game. Power was a good key to my game, but I always felt my middle iron play was what really, when I was really played a tournament well, my middle iron play was where I really dominated, because if I was going to win something, if I was going to win it by a few shots, it always came on the par threes. And every year at Augusta, I always tried to figure out, how well did I play the par threes? Generally, the par fours, you play around par, maybe 1 over, 1 under, so kind of things. I don't think I ever played the par fives great, maybe birdied half of them, which isn't terrible, but it's it should be better. But when I won, I always played the par threes in 4, 5, 6 under par, something like that. And that's where I think I really I don't know. It seemed to be my strength more than what people thought.
Do you think that strength carried itself over to your design work on par threes?
I hadn't really thought much about that, but I enjoy doing par threes. I enjoy trying to picture a shot of what you do with a par three, because I think a par three is a place where you can tee a ball up. It's not playing out of some lie at some distance, and you can control where the amateur and where you're going to play that par three from. So I enjoy being able to do that. Probably more so than other holes. Yeah, I think I do.
Lee Trevino used to always complain, of course, that he hit the ball too low to do well at Augusta National. But Arnold Palmer was a notoriously low ball hitter. Why was Arnold so successful at Augusta National, do you suppose?
Well, I think you take it the other side. I think Lee just had in his mind that he couldn't play Augusta, and that's crazy. I mean, Lee Trevino's a wonderful golfer. I mean, there's been, to me, Hogan is the only person I know that struck the ball better than Lee Trevino. Now, if Lee Trevino says he can hit the ball high, I can't buy that. I mean, Lee can play any shot that he wants to play, always could. And he just, and Lee can hit it right to left or left to right. He can do either, whatever he wants. So, I mean, I thought that was absolutely nonsense. But he had convinced himself he couldn't play it. Arnold, he didn't have a problem whether he hit it high or low. Arnold really knew that he could play that golf course. And Arnold just went after the golf course and played golf like he did anyplace else. He just went after it. And, to me, Lee's was a mystery, and Arnold's, of course, is just the way Arnold is.
People ask you, gee, Jack, when are you going to come back and compete? When are we going to see you try to win again? And I sometimes wonder if you don't feel a little bit like the late Joe DiMaggio, that he did everything. He went to 10 World Series and won 9 of them. He hit 361 home runs and only struck out a few more times than that. So that when he left, he was completely satisfied that he had done everything to prepare, everything to play as well as he could, and even towards the end of his career, he tried as hard as he could in case there was someone who had never seen him play ball before. Mm. Do you feel that way a little bit about you?
Well, when I went to have my hip done, Peter, as I said, I did it for a quality of life issue. And the golf, whether I play golf or not, was not an issue. If I happen to play golf again, which I'm sure I will, and I'm playing now, that's a bonus. If I happen to play tournament golf again, that's an extra bonus. But I certainly didn't have my hip done to play tournament golf. I've played my tournament golf. Now, I enjoy seeing the guys. I enjoy having the competition when I can have the competition. Whether I will be able to swing a golf club and do the things that I want to do with a golf ball with an artificial hip, I don't know. I have no idea whether I can or not. And I'm sure there's going to be some limitations on what I can do, because I doubt whether they can manufacture a hip that can do what I used to be able to do with a golf ball. And but it's not important. It's not important. I mean, I think that I want to be out. I want to come out and play. I want to play a little bit. But certainly I'm not going to come out and play just to play. If I can contribute, if I can help the guys in the senior tour, or help make that a little bit better tour on the few events that I play, then I'll try to do that. If I can play in the U.S. Open this year and play in the majors all next year, I'd like to do that. And I'd like to be able to play the best I can, but I'm not going to sit there and prolong something if I can't do it.
If you do play in the majors and you do play the best that you are capable of at the time. Does that change in any way your philosophy that you're only going to play if you in fact feel that you can be competitive, as opposed to on the fringes of being competitive, or a ceremonial golfer, which you said you're never going to do?
Well, I tried to be a ceremonial golfer several times. It never worked.
Didn't work last year at Augusta.
It never works anywhere. I mean, I have an awful hard time just going around and waving to the crowd. That's not my scene. You know that. You can just see me walking up to a 10-foot putt. Oh, hi everybody. You know.
And gracefully missing it.
Yeah,
right.
no way. I can't do that. I ended my streak last year at the U.S. Open because I couldn't prepare for it. Had I been able, in other words, let's just say I prepared for the U.S. Open last year, could have prepared. I played 9 holes the previous 2 weeks to the U.S. Open and didn't hit any balls because I just physically couldn't. And when I went to the U.S. Open, I was just hoping that I could get through the tournament enough to play golf. Now, that's ridiculous. You don't go to the U.S. Open, take a spot from somebody when you know you can't be competitive. Now, I made the cut. Now, if I had been able to prepare for the U.S. Open last year and went to the U.S. Open feeling like I could play and shot exactly the same score, I would have gone to the British Open last year because I felt like I did all I could do to prepare and be ready. If I can't be ready and can't prepare, then I shouldn't be there. I shouldn't take a spot from somebody. So if I'm going to play over the next year and a half or so, or beyond, I may play beyond, I don't know, then it'll be because I can prepare, and not necessarily will I prepare. I don't expect Jack Nicklaus to compete against David Duval and Tiger Woods anymore. I might give him a run every once in a while, but I'm not going to give him a run on a 4-day basis, and they're certainly not going to shake in their boots anymore, I promise you. You're not shaking, are you guys?
I don't know. I remember Snead and both being competitive in their 60s in majors that you went ahead and won. Let's take a rip.
But anyway, you know, I'm not going to compete against. So I want to be realistic about who I am and what I am. And if I can prepare and be ready to play and be what I call competitive, is have a chance to be competitive. That doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to win, but have a chance to be. Then I'm excited and I enjoy playing and I'll be there.
Let's take a rip through a few shots from the 65 Masters as we go to break. Let's take a look.
Okay.
Now here, of course, you are getting ready on the practice. Look how close your hands are to your body here and how rhythmical this swing is. No hitting here, Jack.
It was just absolutely, that week it was just, you know, it was just absolute pure, it was so easy. Everything was easy. That driving range, you know, they got a little short that week too. You couldn't keep the ball in it.
There's no hit. I mean, you can't even see the hit inside of your swing in 65. And here you are. I think this is the first tee shot on the last day.
Probably another hook.
I don't think so. You look like you finished that swing.
Yeah, but I think that might have been all right. No, I'm watching it. It's up the left side. It went down there close to the left side.
We'll be right back. Don't go away.